What's up, Cinco Nation? Welcome to Flicks Feed. I'm Warren Cinco, and today we're going to review Bird Box. So Bird Box stars Sandra Bullock, Sarah Paulson, John Malkovich, and this guy. Freaking MGK in a small part, but bravo to him for having a part in a movie, although very brief, thankfully. Yeah, this dude needs more acting classes. Anyway, Bird Box is directed by Susan Beer, and it's based on a novel by John Mallerman of the same name. So what is Bird Box? Well, it tells the story of a woman and her children, and they're trying to find sanctuary, trying to escape this evil entity that when you see it, whatever it is, it brings out the worst fears in you, therefore making you want to kill yourself. And they have to traverse through this deadly river, go through this forest all blindfolded without trying to be killed by this entity or entities, and then find that sanctuary and then live happily ever after. So very basic story, although the premise is not really new, and that will lead us to the negatives right now. One of my biggest negatives in this movie is it's just like this movie. So instead of not being able to speak, you're not able to see, and you're trying to run away from this entity or entities. Whereas in The Quiet Place, when you talk, then all these creatures will kill you. Whereas in this one, you kill yourself if you were to see it. So it's very similar. They try to make it a little different in that you are now gonna kill yourself instead of the creatures killing you. So one may think that that's pretty cool, that's original, but yeah, it is if this one came first before The Quiet Place. The problem is The Quiet Place was released not too long ago, so when this movie came out, immediately I saw the similarities. Another negative is their cliche direction. So you have going from present to past to present to past. It's very jarring to me. It's confusing sometimes, and when it goes back to the past, it's like, you put all this people together with different personalities and different motivations, and then you'll always have this one person who's always going to be the dick of the group, and then you got the really nice ones and the quiet ones, and in the end they're trying to like survive, but they're also like bickering and fighting. And I've seen it in many movies before, like this one, where I think does it better than this movie. For my third negative, and this is probably a really big one here, it's the unbelievable moments. So like I said earlier, this mom and her children, the mom played by Sandra Bullock, and the two kids, they have to survive this entity blindfolded, which is possible because they set up certain ways to navigate, like string of ropes, and maybe they've walked around the area before, and they just remembered, like if you were blind, you would kind of like set your areas the way it's supposed to be, that way you know where you're going. But the problem is they have to go to a river in order to get to this safe house or this safe place. The problem is this river has roaring rapids towards the end of it, and one way or another they survive this. I mean, they have to, because they have to get to this sanctuary, and that's where I find it impossible, because they're all blindfolded by doing this. And somehow she was able to navigate through the river with the kids. Boat tips over, somehow survives that. And I know I'm like getting to spoiler territory, but in all honesty, you're not going to be missing much when you watch this movie, if you watch this movie. So there's stuff like that, and there's quite a few of them. I'm not going to spoil them all, but that takes me out of the movie whenever I see that. I'm like, I know it's a movie, and I know I'm supposed to suspend my disbelief. However, watching this is just like, yeah, whatever. And finally, probably the most important and most glaring negative of all is the fact that they don't really explain how, when this entity came into being, or entities. And that's the thing. I don't know how many. Are they alien? Is it biological? What's the reason behind it? In the end, it's like you kind of form your own conclusion kind of type movie again. I mean, I'm into that mystery, some movies where you're supposed to figure it out yourself. I'm into those movies, provided that they have some way of explaining what's going on. You don't have to always do expositions. I actually don't like expositions unless it serves the story. Like in Narcos, where it's heavy in exposition, but I see why they did it. It actually benefits the story to have the exposition in Narcos. Whereas in this movie, it's not linear for one thing, and when something happens, it's like, okay, yeah, I guess. And then when it ends, it's like, okay, yeah, I guess. So they need to explain more. I think that would have benefited the movie a little bit if there was more explanation or kind of like what's going on. Now, even with all that, there are some positives to this movie, and unfortunately there's very few. One is Sandra Bullock. She is superb as always. When she acts, it's very engaging, she's captivating, glued to my seat type acting. She's really good in this movie. Sarah Paulson was good too, although she has a very minor role. And John Malkovich was being John Malkovich, so I always like seeing him. But that could also lead to a negative. He's being John Malkovich. It's pretty obvious. And then my other positive is the visuals, the cinematography. I like the color palette. I like the choice of locations. So I was thinking of giving this grade okay, but after a few days and marinating on it and thinking about it, in the end, this movie gets a slap in the face.
Well, Amanda's in there.
Movie's cliche. Quiet Place is a better movie. If you want to watch something in that nature, just go ahead and watch A Quiet Place. Otherwise, you'll probably be disappointed with this movie. Acting was good, but that's about it. So Bird Box, have you seen it? What do you think about it? Comment below and be careful with spoilers, even though I already spoiled it. If you like my review, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to my channel and tell your family and friends about FlixFeed. And as always, if you'd like to see more, you can click right here and get Sync of 5.